I sat at the long dining table, my fingers tightening around the stem of my champagne glass. Laughter echoed around the grand hall, my relatives exchanging stories of their latest business triumphs. Every glance in my direction carried the same unspoken judgment. Ava never amounted to anything. Ava, dear, my Uncle Richard's voice cut through the chatter. How's life as a secretary? Must be nice not having to deal with real responsibilities. Laughter rippled across the table. My cousin Manuel smirked, swirling his wine. You should have listened to us, you know. Business isn't for everyone. They had no idea. A decade ago, they had scoffed when I pitched my business ideas. No one believed in me, so I stopped looking for approval. I built something of my own, away from their shadow. I forced a smile. Oh, you'd be surprised how much work I do. If only they knew the truth. I excused myself from the dinner table, my stomach twisting in frustration. Their words, their smug glances, it was the same as always. They still saw me as the naive girl who didn't belong in their world of power and wealth, but they had no idea what I had built in secret. As I stepped onto the terrace, the cool night air did little to soothe my nerves. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out and read the message. Final contract signed. We're set for launch. A rush of satisfaction surged through me. They mocked me for being a secretary, but in reality, I owned one of the fastest-growing tech startups in the industry. I had worked in silence, staying in the shadows, waiting for the right moment. And that moment was coming. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I hesitated. Should I reply now, or wait until tomorrow when I could fully savor their reactions? I glanced back at the dining hall through the glass doors. My father, the great businessman, was raising a toast to my cousin Manuel for his latest real estate investment. He had never once acknowledged my achievements. Soon he would have no choice. The next morning, I sat in my office, scrolling through the final projections for our launch. Everything was set. This was the moment I had worked for. Then my office door opened. Manuel. He strolled in like he owned the place, his usual arrogant smirk in place. Ava, he said, dropping into the chair across from me. I thought I'd drop by and see how my little cousin is doing. Secretary work treating you well? I clenched my jaw. What do you want, Manuel? His smirk widened. Straight to business. Fine. I know you've been working on something big. I froze. He leaned forward. Come on, Ava. You think I wouldn't notice? I do my research. I know you're not just some assistant. And I think we can help each other. I studied him. Manuel never helped anyone unless there was something in it for him. I'm not interested, I said flatly. He chuckled, shaking his head. You should be. Because Wilson Enterprises is about to make a move on a struggling software firm, Novatech. And I have a feeling your secret little company is the one keeping it afloat. I kept my expression neutral, but my heart pounded. So here's the deal, he continued. You back off, let the acquisition go through, and I'll make sure you get a nice payout. A way into the family business, finally. I stared at him. Did he really think I'd sell out my own company just to earn their approval? I leaned back, crossing my arms. You have no idea who you're dealing with, Manuel. His smirk faltered just slightly. Good. Because soon he and the rest of them would find out exactly what I was capable of. The moment Manuel walked out of my office, I knew the real fight had begun. I spent years building Novatech in secret, pouring everything into it. My late nights, my weekends, my heart. It wasn't just some startup to be bought and gutted by my family's empire. But now they knew. And worse, Manuel knew. I needed a plan. That night, I met with my co-founder, Leo Carter, in his tiny, cluttered apartment. We have a problem, I said, dropping onto his worn-out couch. Leo glanced up from his laptop, pushing his glasses up his nose. What kind of problem? Wilson Enterprises is moving on Novatech, and my cousin Manuel is involved. Leo let out a slow breath. Damn. I nodded. They know we exist, and they want us out of the way. He ran a hand through his messy hair. We don't have the resources to fight them, Ava. If they want to crush us, they will. I gritted my teeth. Not if we strike first. Leo gave me a skeptical look. You have a plan? Not yet, I admitted. But I will. The next morning, I stepped into Novatech's small but buzzing office. My team, Emily, Raj, and Daniel, were already deep in their work, completely unaware of the storm heading our way. I called a quick meeting, laying it all out for them. The tension in the room thickened. So what do we do? Emily asked. I took a deep breath. We fight back. Raj frowned. How? Wilson Enterprises is huge, Ava. If they come at us legally, financially, hell, even strategically, we're done. Not necessarily, I said. We need leverage, something that will make them back off. Daniel adjusted his tie. And where do we find that? I hesitated for a moment before saying, in Manuel's world. If he's leading this charge, then we need to find something on him. Leo, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. You want to take down your own cousin. I met his gaze. I want to protect what we built. And if Manuel gets in the way of that, then yes. Silence. Then Emily smiled. Well, this just got interesting. If I wanted to take on Manuel, I needed to understand how he operated. He was sharp, ruthless, and played the corporate game better than anyone in my family. But no one was untouchable. Everyone had a weak spot. I just had to find his. Leo and I spent the next few days digging through every piece of information we could find on him. Financial records, business deals, past projects, anything that might give us an advantage. Look at this, Leo said one evening, pointing at his laptop screen. There's a deal Manuel closed 6 months ago, Meridian Tech. He bought them out and shut down the division. But look at the backlash. I scanned the news articles. Employees fired with no notice. Lawsuits. A massive PR disaster swept under the rug. That's something, I murmured. Leo nodded. If we can find someone from Meridian Tech who got burned, we might have a way in. Finding someone willing to talk wasn't easy. Most ex-employees were either too bitter or too afraid. But after days of searching, I finally got a lead. Olivia Hayes, a former senior developer at Meridian. We met at a quiet cafe outside the city. Olivia looked tired, wary. Why do you care about what happened to Meridian? She asked. Because the man who did that to your company is about to do the same to mine, I said, and I need your help to stop him. She studied me for a long moment. Then, with a sigh, she pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. You might find this interesting, she said. I glanced at the screen. It was an email chain, one that clearly showed Manuel manipulating stock prices before the acquisition. It was illegal. If this got out, it could ruin him. I looked up at Olivia. Why are you giving me this? Because people like Manuel think they can destroy others without consequences, she said bitterly. Maybe it's time someone proved them wrong. Back at the office, I laid out our options to Leo and the team. This is our shot, I said, showing them the evidence. If we leak this, Manuel will be forced to deal with the fallout instead of coming after us. Leo hesitated. But what if it backfires? What if he figures out it came from us? I clenched my jaw. Then we make sure he doesn't have time to retaliate. Emily leaned forward. You mean we don't just leak it? We control the narrative. I nodded. Exactly. We don't just expose him. We bury him. The room was silent. Then Raj let out a low whistle. This is insane, he said, but I like it. Leo exhaled. Then let's do it. I stared at the screen, knowing that once we pulled the trigger, there was no turning back. I took a deep breath and hit send. The next morning, the headlines exploded. Business tycoon Manuel Vega accused of stock manipulation. Meridian Tech scandal. Leaked emails reveal corporate deception. Will Manuel Vega face legal consequences? Social media was on fire. Journalists dug deeper, unearthing more dirt on Manuel's past dealings. Investors panicked. Stocks tied to his company began to drop. I watched the chaos unfold from my office, my hands gripping the edge of my desk. Leo stood beside me, phone in hand. He's going to fight back, he muttered. I know, I said. But we're ready. My phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I answered. You think you've won. Manuel's voice was sharp, controlled, but beneath it, I could hear the anger boiling. I think the truth came out, I replied coolly. He laughed bitterly. You have no idea what you've just done. The call ended. I set my phone down, my pulse racing. This wasn't over. True to his word, Manuel struck back fast. By midday, news articles started shifting the blame. His PR team worked overtime, spinning the scandal as a misunderstanding, a disgruntled ex-employee's revenge. Then came the legal threats. Our company received a cease and desist letter, accusing us of defamation and corporate sabotage. We knew this was coming, Leo said, pacing the room. But we need to hit back before he controls the narrative completely. Emily rushed in. You need to see this. She pulled up a financial report, one that showed something shocking. Manuel was moving money. A lot of it. He's liquidating assets, she said. He's planning something big. I stared at the numbers. He's either preparing for a lawsuit, Leo muttered, or trying to buy his way out of this. I exhaled sharply. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance. If Manuel wanted a war, I'd give him one. With Olivia's help, we connected with a journalist who had been digging into corporate fraud cases for years. We handed over everything, not just the emails but also financial inconsistencies we found in his company. Within hours, the news broke. Authorities launched investigation into Manuel Vega's financial dealings. And then, the real bombshell. A former business partner came forward, alleging Manuel had bribed officials to cover up past illegal dealings. The government was now involved. Leo let out a breath of relief. That's it. That's the nail in the coffin. I nodded, watching the news unfold. Manuel was powerful, but even he couldn't fight off federal scrutiny. Hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a simple text from an unknown number. "You'll regret this." I stared at it for a long moment. Then, with steady hands, I deleted the message. Manuel was finished, and I was just getting started. With Manuel out of the picture, our company stabilized. Investors regained trust. Our employees, once afraid, now walked with confidence. One evening, as I stood by my office window, Leo walked in. "You did it." "We did it," I corrected, smiling. He chuckled. "So, what's next?" I turned back to the city skyline, feeling something I hadn't in a long time: hope. I didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain: I would never let anyone take what was mine again.